This conference will now be recorded.
PPT.
నేను చేస్తాను. రికార్డ్ అవుతుంది. రైట్, ఇక్కడే ఉంటారుగా, పిలుస్తాను ఏదైనా చేస్తాను. నేను ఇక్కడ పెట్టేశాను లాస్ట్. కొంచెం పైన ఓకే. Hi ma. Okay, now okay ma. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes ma.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. All of you came. Shall we start our class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you ma? How are you studying? You know, no, third internals are coming soon. Okay, if at all if you are not having books, okay, send your parents or you can come to the hostel and you can take the books. Okay, just study. Okay, start reading seriously. And final exams and third internals are also coming, no? Okay. Then shall we start our class? Yes, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. So in last class, what you studied about the pancreas, right? So what are the hormones which are secreting from the pancreas, right? What are the main hormone secrets from the pancreas?
Pancreatic
Insulin,
gland.
glucagon.
Glucagon.
Very good. Right. There are two types. One is pancreas secretes the enzymes which is responsible for the digestion, right? And another one is the endocrine part of the pancreas, exocrine part of the pancreas and endocrine part of the pancreas. Exocrine part will secrete the enzymes which are responsible for the gastric digestion, right? Whereas the endocrine part is responsible for the regulation of the, mainly for the regulation of the glucose. If you see the glucose homeostasis, what is glucose homeostasis? What is glucose homeostasis?
Blood glucose. Normal blood glucose.
Very good. The maintaining the blood glucose at a constant range, right? During the fasting stage, right? After the meal and during the entire day and night. So how the glucose or the plasma blood glucose is maintained means mainly by means of hyperglycemic hormones and hypoglycemic hormones. Yes or no? So what is hyperglycemic hormone and what is hypoglycemic hormones? What are the names of the hyperglycemic? Very good.
Hyperglycemic glucagon. Hypoglycemic is
Very good. Hyperglycemic is the glucagon, whereas the hypoglycemic is the insulin. So, to maintain the blood glucose homeostasis, only one hormone is there for hypoglycemic state to maintain the hyperglycemic state. What are the other hormones also there? There are important
cortisol.
Growth hormone.
Very good.
Corticoids.
Right, steroids, growth hormones, glucocorticoids, thyroxine, and glucagon. These are the four epinephrine, and these are the very important hormones, right, which maintains the plasma glucose at high level. There, whereas one hypoglycemic hormone is there, that is nothing but
Insulin.
insulin. So there are two hormones secreted from the pancreas, which is increases the plasma glucose, and another one is the decreases the plasma glucose. Those are nothing but glucagon and insulin. So when we are studying the pancreas, we studied what are the actions of the insulin, how it is regulating the plasma blood glucose levels, right? So when the insulin secretion is abnormal, or if there is no insulin is secreted from the pancreas, what happens? When there is
Blood
abnormality in
glucose
secretion of
level will
Glucose level increase.
right, very
Diabetes
good.
mellitus.
Diabetes mellitus.
Very good. The plasma blood glucose concentration will be very high, and the pathological condition is called as diabetes mellitus, right? So in present scenario, the the present disorder which is increasing the morbidity of the people is the one is the diabetes mellitus. In India, that is the further and foremost disorder which is leading to the morbidity of the persons are the diabetes mellitus. That is the leading cause of the morbidity of the people in India. So in developing countries, right, in also developed countries, because of the increased sedentary lifestyle, right, lack of exercise or excess calorie intake, that is leading to diabetes mellitus, and the people are suffering with the complications that has been arising from the long-term diabetes mellitus. Then today we study what is diabetes mellitus, how many types of diabetes mellitus, right? What exactly happens in diabetes mellitus? What are the clinical features and what is the mechanism behind it, right, ma? So if you see that diabetes mellitus, so mainly we know that there are two types of diabetes mellitus. What are the two types of diabetes mellitus?
Type 1,
Insulin
type 2.
dependent.
Type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus. Of course, the people should not eat the sweets and all, right? Even though the persons and the in the same scenario for the body and the cells in the body, and also the physical the person, as a diabetic person, we should not eat sweets, and in the cells of the body, in a mid of the plenty of glucose, the cells cannot able to utilize the glucose. That is the main pathology behind the development of the diabetes mellitus, right? So introduction, coming to introduction, diabetes mellitus is a group of metabolic diseases in which there are high blood sugar levels over a prolonged period. So it is a group of metabolic diseases. Why it is called as a group of metabolic diseases means all the metabolic, what are the main metabolisms in the body? Carbohydrate metabolism, protein metabolism, fat metabolism, right? Yes or no? These are the three important metabolisms of the body. So because of the insulin, lack of the insulin or resistance to the insulin, there is abnormality takes place in all three metabolisms. That's why the diabetes mellitus will be defined as a group of metabolic diseases in which there are high blood sugar levels over a prolonged period. If you see here, in a blood, there is a normal glucose that is present in the blood, right? There is excessive blood glucose present in the blood. Symptoms of high blood sugar, we know that include the frequent urination, increased thirst, and increased hunger. That is nothing but polyuria, polydipsia, and and increased hunger. What is the term used for increased term?
Polyphagia.
Dysphagia.
polyphasia. Polyphasia.
Polyphasia, right? So if left untreated, the diabetes can cause many complications. What are the main complications that the person suffers with means diabetic ketoacidosis. The acute complications, they can include diabetic ketoacidosis, non-ketotic hyperosmolar coma, if it is untreated, that leads the person to die. So the acute complications of the diabetes mellitus are diabetic ketoacidosis, non-ketotic hyperosmolar coma, which leads to the death of the person. And what are the serious long-term complications means include heart disease, mainly the cardiovascular diseases. Because of the increased high plasma blood glucose, there are the abnormalities which involved in the microvascular component as well as macrovascular component. So involving the macrovascular compartment that leads to the heart disease, stroke. And microvascular compartments leads to the diabetic nephropathy, that is nothing but that leads to chronic kidney failure, foot ulcers, diabetic foot, and damage to the eyes, that is nothing but the diabetic retinopathy, right ma? So the acute complications, the person will go into the coma, and there are two types of coma. One is the diabetic ketoacidosis and non-ketotic hyperosmolar coma. And what are the long-term complications means, because involvement of the microvascular as well as macrovascular compartment that leads to the heart diseases, stroke, and chronic kidney failure, foot ulcers, and damage to the eyes, that is nothing but diabetic foot, diabetic retinopathy, and diabetic nephropathy. These are the complications of the diabetes. Right, what is the main pathophysiology involved means the diabetes either occurs due to inability of the pancreas to secrete enough insulin, or the cells of the body not responding properly to the insulin produced. So we know that type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes kada. Type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, what is the difference between these two means, in one, the pancreas, the inability of the pancreas to secrete insulin hormone, or even though the enough sufficient insulin is there in the body, the cells will not respond to the insulin, the resistance of the insulin receptors to the insulin. Depending upon this, there are, along with the type 1 and type 2, addition diabetes also is there, that is the gestational diabetes. What is gestational diabetes means? Diabetes, development of the diabetes during the gestation or during the pregnancy. So there are three main types. One is the type 1 diabetes mellitus, type 2 diabetes mellitus, and gestational diabetes. So coming to the type 1 diabetes mellitus. So type 1 diabetes mellitus, this is the results from the pancreas's failure to produce enough insulin. Mostly the destruction of the pancreatic islets, pancreatic beta cells with the autoantibodies. Right? Because of the antibody destruction, the pancreatic beta cells will be unable to produce the enough insulin. That is the most common cause. So actually this form was previously referred to as insulin dependent diabetes mellitus or juvenile diabetes mellitus. Why they are called it as insulin dependent diabetes mellitus means the main treatment of the person's type 1 diabetes mellitus is the administration of the insulin. Right? That's why this type of diabetes mellitus is called as insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. And another one is the type 2 diabetes mellitus that begins with insulin resistance, a condition in which cells fails to respond to insulin properly. That means though the sufficient insulin is getting secreted from the pancreatic beta cells, but the cells will not accept that insulin. The receptors of the insulin show resistance to the insulin, right? That is called as type 2 diabetes mellitus, insulin resistance, right? The cells of the body will show the resistance to the insulin. Right? This form was previously referred to as non-insulin diabetes mellitus or adult onset diabetes mellitus. Actually, the insulin diabetes mellitus and the non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus are the misnomers. Previously, what they thought, the type 2 diabetes mellitus, only the receptors are resistant to the insulin, so there is no need to give the insulin injections. But nowadays, when the person is suffering long time, right, long term type 2 diabetes mellitus, there is a need to give the insulin injections, right? So that is a misnomer. Insulin dependent and non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus is a misnomer, because if the type 2 diabetes mellitus person, if he is suffering from the long duration, there is a need to give the insulin injections. And the type 2 diabetes mellitus, the primary cause is excessive body weight and not doing regular exercise. That is nothing but sedentary lifestyle and eating habits, right? And also stress. That is the main reasons for the type 2. And another one is the gestational diabetes. This is the third main form and occurs in pregnant women without a previous history of diabetes mellitus. Right, what is the comparison of type 1 and type 2 diabetes? Type 1 diabetes is sudden onset, right? So mostly the person are in juvenile stage only, and the children. And type 2 diabetes is gradual in onset. And age at onset, mostly in children, the type 1 diabetes is present in children and mostly in adults. And body size in type 1 diabetes thin or normal, but often type 2 diabetes often obese. And ketoacidosis is common in type 1 and rare in type 2. What is ketoacidosis? If there is accumulation of the ketone bodies in the plasma blood plasma, then that results in the acidosis. Why? Means insulin prevents lipolysis, right? Insulin prevents lipolysis. When there is no insulin, right, there is accumulation, and also it increases the uptake of the ketone bodies by the cells. When there is no insulin, there is accumulation of the ketone bodies in the plasma. In type 2 diabetes, the ketoacidosis is rare. And autoantibodies are usually present in type 1 diabetes, which leads to the destruction of the pancreatic beta cells. And type 2 diabetes, the autoantibodies will not present. And endogenous insulin, that means the insulin production from the pancreas is very low or absent in type 1 diabetes, whereas it is normal, decreased or increased in type 2 diabetes. And concordance in identical twins means there are about 50% chances of developing, and here 90%. Right. Then coming to the biochemistry of the diabetes mellitus, we know that there is a three conditions. There will be hyperglycemia will be present, ketosis will present, and ketoacidosis. Why there is hyperglycemia? Why there is ketosis? Why there is ketoacidosis is present in diabetes mellitus? Yes. So the blood glucose, we know that the blood glucose is too high due to deficiency of available insulin. That is mainly because of decreased production or decreased action or increase in counter hormone. So when there is absence of the insulin, the glucose will not enter into the muscle and also adipose tissue and adipose tissue. So when there is insulin absent is there, or when the receptors are resistant to get acted upon by the insulin, then the glucose will not enter into the cells and also as well as adipose tissue. And there is necessary for uptake of the glucose by liver and brain cells that leads to the hyperglycemia. Right, for the entry of the glucose into the brain cells, there is a need of insulin or not?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
Right? Yes or no? Brain cells required insulin or not?
No.
No. But what brain cell? That means what part of the brain that is required the insulin? Which part of the brain, right, requires insulin to get entered? The glucose can enter into the cell only with the help of insulin. that is present in which part of the brain? Guess,
Hypothalamus.
Amma? Okay. What is feeding center of the hypothalamus?
Hypothalamus. Lateral hypothalamus.
Satiety center?
Lateral
Satiety center?
hypothalamus.
మళ్ళీ నాకు చెప్పండి. What is the name of the satiety center? What is the name of the feeding center that is present in the hypothalamus? Okay, that is discussed when we are discussing the polyphasia, right? So except that part, remaining part of the brain cells by God's grace doesn't require insulin. Okay, right? So hyperglycemia is present. There is the blood glucose when there is more than 130 milligrams per deciliter, that is continuously elevated plasma glucose. And insulin secretion will be non or inadequate in diabetes mellitus. Because of the no glucose, there will be weakness and tiredness. Always, in spite of excessive eating, the person will be in the state of continuous fatigue because the cells will suffer with the starvation. Even though there is plenty of plasma glucose is there, right? The cells will not utilize the blood glucose, and that cells will suffer with the starvation. And utilization of the proteins, when the blood glucose is not there for the production of the energy, automatically that will be over to the proteins. There is protein catabolism will increase, thereby the blood urea increases, and there is increase in fatty acid oxidation, right? Because it increased acetyl coenzyme A and increased cholesterol that leads to the ketosis. There is the insulin increases the utilization of the ketone bodies by the cells. When there is no insulin, right, there is increased accumulation of the ketone bodies in the plasma, and also there is increased fatty acid oxidation because the insulin prevents lipolysis. When there is no insulin, there is increased fatty acid production as well as there is increased fatty acid oxidation. And ketoacidosis is nothing but accumulation of the all ketone bodies. What are the names of the ketone bodies?
Acetoacetic acid, alpha,
Alpha beta hydroxybutyric acid.
acetic acid.
Very good. Acetic acid, beta hydroxybutyric acid. And to buffer these ketone bodies, there is decrease in bicarbonate will utilize to buffer all these increased ketone bodies, and there is decrease in plasma bicarbonate, and there is also loss of sodium that results in the diabetic coma. Right. So hyperglycemia is result as because of the decreased glucose uptake, and also there is decreased glycolysis and tissue protein degradation that results in the muscle wasting, and there is increased plasma glucogenic amino acids, right? And glycogenolysis increases and glycogen synthesis decreases and gluconeogenesis increases, and that results in the low insulin and glucagon ratio. As a result, glycosuria, that means increased glucose excretion in the urine, that is the glycosuria. And increased protein catabolism liberates amino acids which by gluconeogenesis from the glucose. This also lost from body, that means increased protein in the urine, right? The presence of the protein in the urine, and nitrogen is also lost as a urea. Right, already we discussed the insulin is the principal hormone that regulates the uptake of glucose from the blood into the cells of the body, especially liver, adipose tissue, and muscle, except smooth muscle, in which insulin acts via the insulin growth factor 1. Here, one important point is skeletal muscle and adipose tissue requires the insulin, but whereas the smooth muscle, except the smooth muscle. How the smooth muscle means that insulin will act via the insulin-like growth factor 1. Therefore, deficiency of the insulin or the insensitivity of the receptors plays a central role in all forms of the diabetes mellitus. And if you see the glucose metabolism, We know from where the glucose will come in the body. From where the glucose will come?
Carbohydrate.
Very good. Carbohydrates. The first one is the intestinal absorption of the food. If we take the carbohydrates, that will leads to the intestinal absorption of the food. And the breakdown of the in the fasting stage, how the glucose will come?
Gluconeogenesis.
Gluconeogenesis. Very good. Gluconeogenesis, the breakdown of the glycogen, the store form of the glucose found in the liver. And another one, glycogenolysis, that is called as the glycogenolysis. And another one is the gluconeogenesis, the generation of the glucose from non-carbohydrate substances in the body. Right. So the intestinal absorption, glycogenolysis, and gluconeogenesis. So the insulin, which plays a critical role in balancing glucose levels in the body. It can inhibit the breakdown of glycogen or the process of gluconeogenesis, and it can stimulate the transport of the glucose into the fat and muscle cells. Right? Just make a point, mother. Stimulates the transport of glucose into the fat, that is nothing but adipose tissue and muscle cells. And it also stimulates the storage of the glucose in the form of the glycogen. Right? So the insulin is released. We know that the insulin is released in the blood by the beta cells, which are found in the islets of the Langerhans in the pancreas. Right? In response to the rising levels of the blood glucose, typically after eating food. And the lower glucose levels result in decreased insulin release from the beta cells and result in the breakdown of the glycose into glucose. And the process is mainly controlled by the hormone glucagon. So there is a equivalent balance will takes place in the secretion of the glucagon as well as in the secretion of the insulin. So depending upon the plasma glucose level, right? Plasma glucose levels, the pancreas will decide to secrete glucagon, to secrete insulin. Right? So there is a continuous, the balance will takes place in the secretion of the insulin as well as glucagon, because these are the two opponent hormones which regulates the plasma glucose. Right. So if the pathophysiology behind it are if the amount of the insulin availability is insufficient, or if cells respond poorly to the effects of insulin, or if the insulin itself is a defective, then the glucose will not be absorbed properly by the body cells, and the net effect is persistently high levels of the blood glucose, poor protein synthesis, and breakdown of the fat storage that results in the acidosis. Right? Here another terms are the glycosuria, polyuria, polydipsia. What is glycosuria? When the glucose concentration in the blood remains high over time, the renal absorption of the glucose will, if the blood plasma glucose is more than the renal threshold of the glucose, right, then the glucose starts appear in the urine, that is called as glycosuria. When there is increased glucose in the urine, right, what happens? That increases the osmotic pressure of the urine. When there is increased osmotic pressure in the urine, what happens? The water will excrete from the tubular cells. Yes or no? So there is more amount of the water excretion in the urine, that is nothing but polyuria. This is very, very important, ma. So in diabetes mellitus, if a question comes, you should write, right? You have to explain why there is glycosuria, why there is polyuria, why there is polydipsia, why there is polyphasia. Okay, so glycosuria is nothing but because of increased renal threshold glucose, the glucose will glucose starts excrete in the urine. That is called as glycosuria. When inability of the renal glucose, renal blood vessels, right, to reabsorb. So because of the more plasma glucose levels, the glucose starts excrete in the urine. That is nothing but called as glycosuria. What is the renal threshold for the glucose? Renal threshold maximum for the glucose?
180.
180.
Right. That is different. That is a range. When it is more than this, right, then the kidney tubule starts excreting the glucose. That is called as the glycosuria. The ability of the kidneys to reabsorb of the glucose will decrease because of the more plasma glucose, that is called as the glycosuria. So when the glucose is present in the urine, osmotic glucose is a very high osmotically active product, yes or no? So when there is urine osmotic pressure is more, then the water will move from the renal tubular cells to the urine. Got my point, ma? When the urine osmotic pressure is more because of the presence of the more amount of the glucose, the water always will move from the low osmotic pressure to the high osmotic pressure. So the water will excrete, will move from the renal tubular cells into the urine. There is increased fluid loss. That means the water absorption also will be less. The water absorption will decrease. More water will excrete in the urine. So there is increased fluid loss. That is nothing but thereby the diabetic persons always urinate. That they frequently they go for urination. That is nothing but called as the polyuria. Excessive what, ma?
Water in urea. Water
Yes,
in
water.
urine.
Right. Because of the more amount of the water is coming from the renal tubular cells into the urine, right? More fluid loss, and the person has to urinate very frequently. That is called as polyuria. So when there is polyuria, when there is increased fluid loss via through the urine, the blood volume will decrease, and the blood, because of that, the lost blood volume will be replaced osmotically from water held in the body cells and other body compartments. When here got point, ma? When there is increased fluid loss, the blood volume will decrease, right? So when the blood volume decreases, it combats that by drawing the water from the cells. So the cells suffers with the dehydration. The body cells will suffer with the dehydration. So the lost blood volume will be replaced osmotically from the water held in body cells and other body compartments. That means because of the excessive loss in the urine, the blood volume loss will be replaced by the by taking the water from the body cells and other body compartments. So the cells will suffer with the dehydration. When the body cells are suffering with the dehydration, right, it stimulates the thirst center that is present in the hypothalamus, and the person always feels to be thirst. So there is excessive drinking of water will be present. That is called excessive thirst is called as polydipsia. This is the mechanism involved why the person always feels thirst. That is nothing but polydipsia. Okay, ma? Got my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Right. So the type 1 diabetes mellitus is characterized by loss of insulin producing beta cells of the islets of the Langerhans, that is leading to insulin deficiency and classified as immunomediated or idiopathic. Of course, this is the production of the self-auto antibodies which work against the pancreatic cells. Right. Then coming to the what is the pathophysiology of the type 2 diabetes? There is mainly the type 2 diabetes. The cells receptors are shows resistance to the insulin, and there are mainly 4 factors. That is the obesity and lack of physical activity, poor diet, and stress. Nowadays, the type 2 diabetes mellitus, the main factor which is responsible for development of the type 2 diabetes at nowadays is the stress. If there is more stress, there is likely development of the type 2 diabetes mellitus. Okay, so the dietary factors also influence the risk of developing type 2 diabetes mellitus. If the person is taking high sugar sweetened drugs and more fats like saturated fats and trans fatty acids, which increases the risk of. And polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats are good for health, which decreases the risk. And also eating lots of white rice also may increase the risk of diabetes and a lack of exercise. All these are the main reasons for the development of the type 2 diabetes mellitus. And coming to the gestational diabetes mellitus resembles the type 2 diabetes mellitus. There is a combination, of course, involves a combination of relatively inadequate insulin secretion and responsiveness in both. Maybe decreased insulin secretion along with the responsiveness of the cells to the insulin also will decrease the responsiveness of the cells to the insulin also present. It occurs in adults in about 2 to 10% of all pregnancies and may improve or disappear after delivery. So, however, after pregnancy, approximately 5 to 10% of women with gestational diabetes are found to have diabetes mellitus, mostly commonly type 2. And gestational diabetes is fully treatable but requires careful medical supervision throughout the pregnancy. What is the management means? Include dietary changes, blood glucose monitoring, and in some cases insulin may be required. So what are the abnormalities that are present in the gestational diabetes mellitus means? Though it may be transient, untreated gestational diabetes mellitus can damage the health of the fetus as well as mother too. What are the risks to the baby means? There is high birth weight, that is called as macrosomia. Why there is high birth weight means because of the presence of the excessive plasma glucose, the baby will utilize more glucose, more extra glucose that leads to the increased birth weight. The term for the high birth weight is called as a macrosomia. And also there is likely chances of developing congenital heart diseases, congenital heart defects, and also central nervous system abnormalities and skeletal muscle malformations. Skeletal muscle malformations. These are the risks of the baby who borns to the gestational diabetes. One is the macrosomia, high birth weight because of the extra glucose utilization of the baby that leads to the high birth weight, macrosomia, congenital heart defects, and central nervous system as well as the skeletal muscle abnormalities. So increase and also the increased levels of the insulin in a fetus's blood may inhibit the fetal surfactant production and cause respiratory distress syndrome. What is the role of surfactant?
Decrease surface tension of the lungs.
Prevents lung from collapsing.
Very good. It prevents lungs from collapsing. That is the surfactant. It is responsible for the expansion, development of the lungs. So when there is increased levels of the insulin, there is the decreased availability of the surfactant. There is decreased fetal surfactant production, and that causes respiratory distress syndrome. And also a high blood bilirubin level will found that result from the that is because of increased destruction of the red blood cells, right? So decreased production of the surfactant as well as the high blood bilirubin levels. So, and also in severe cases, perinatal death may also occur, most commonly as a result of poor placental perfusion due to vascular impairment. As before we studied, the high plasma glucose levels leads to the damage of the microvascular compartment as well as the macrovascular compartment. Microvascular compartment, the increased blood glucose, because of the increased free fatty acid oxidation and accumulation of the end products, right? Accumulation of the this one protein kinase C and accumulation of the glycated end products and activated protein kinase C and oxidative stress. All these damages the microvascular compartment, that is nothing but capillaries, right? Because of that, there is a chance of poor placental perfusion, right? That results the perinatal death of the baby. And in some cases, in such cases, what they do the labor induction. Labor induction may be indicated with decreased placental function, and they do the cesarean section may be performed if there is a marked fetal distress or an increased risk of injury associated with the macrosomia, such as the shoulder dystocia. Shoulder dystocia is nothing but the skeletal muscle deformities, has a likely chance of neuro and also as well as the skeletal muscle abnormalities and also the macrosomia, and also because of the poor placental perfusion, they do the labor induction by means of the cesarean section. So the main symptoms of the diabetes, centrally polydipsia, polyphagia, lethargy, stupor, and eyes. There is a blurred vision and breath, smell of acetone will be there. Systematically weight loss will be there, and respiratory Kussmaul's breathing because of the hyperventilation, and gastric, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain will be there, and urinary polyuria and glycosuria will be there. So the classic symptoms of the untreated diabetes are weight loss because of the increased protein catabolism, right? When there is a not availability of the glucose for energy production, the body cells utilize protein for the energy production. So there is increased protein catabolism, and also there is nitrogen lost in the urine that leads to the weight loss. And polyuria we already discussed because of the increased osmotic pressure of the urine, because excess presence of the glucose in the urine that leads to the, it drags the water from the renal tubular cells into the urine that leads to the polyuria because of the increased fluid loss, and there will be the cells will suffer with the dehydration that leads to the increased thirst, that is nothing but polydipsia. And another one is the polyphagia. Polyphagia is nothing but increased hunger. So symptoms may develop rapidly, weeks or months in type 1 diabetes mellitus, while they usually develop much more slowly and may be subtle or absent in type 2 diabetes mellitus. Right. Right. Another one is the polyphagia. Polyphagia means when we are studying with the food intake, when we are studying the nucleus of the hypothalamus, there are two are there. One is the lateral hypothalamus and another one is the ventromedial hypothalamus. Ventromedial hypothalamus is the satiety center and the lateral hypothalamus is the feeding center. And lateral hypothalamus is there is continuous inhibition from the satiety center, ventromedial hypothalamus. Actually, the lateral hypothalamus, which acts like a feeding center, is continuous inactive. But it gets inhibited after eating food. The ventromedial hypothalamus will get stimulated. It inhibits the lateral hypothalamus. That's why we will stop off eating. Got my point, ma? Lateral hypothalamus, which acts like a right feeding center, is in continuous activation. But after eating food, the ventromedial hypothalamus, which acts like a satiety center, satiety center, right, will inhibits the lateral hypothalamus, right? When there is lateral hypothalamus is getting inhibited, then we will stop off eating, right? So that is called as the inhibition of the lateral hypothalamus. But when the cells are suffering with the starvation in the mid of the plenty, as the cells will not utilize the glucose because of lack of insulin or lack of sensitiveness, the cells will suffer with the starvation. As well as ventromedial hypothalamus is the one part of the brain where insulin is required, right, to enter the glucose into the cells. Except all brain cells will not require insulin. Okay, ma, that is the important PG question, ma. All brain cells will not require insulin except ventromedial nucleus of the hypothalamus. That's why that is called as glucoreceptors. The ventromedial hypothalamus, ventromedial nucleus of the hypothalamus, which acts like a satiety center. Another term is the glucoreceptors of the hypothalamus. Those cells require insulin, right, for the entry of the glucose into the cells. When there is no insulin, there is no glucose enter into the ventromedial nucleus of the hypothalamus, right, and that will be deactivated, right? When there is no glucose enter into the ventromedial hypothalamus, so it itself feels hungry, so it will not inhibit the lateral hypothalamus. But in normal people, what happens when we are eating, right? The blood glucose will enter into the cells as well as ventromedial nucleus of the hypothalamus because of the presence of the normal insulin, right? So the ventromedial nucleus of the hypothalamus, when it feels full, then it inhibits the lateral hypothalamus, that is nothing but feeding center of the hypothalamus. Then we will stop eating. We feel satisfaction. But in diabetic people, because lack of insulin or lack of sensitiveness of the receptors to the insulin, the glucose will not enter into the ventromedial nucleus of the hypothalamus, and it will be in the deactivated state, and there will be no inhibitory impulses to the lateral hypothalamus, and the feeding center is continuous in active stage only. So the person always feels hungry, in hunger mode only. That is called as polyphagia. Okay, ma, are you clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Right,
Yes,
ma.
ma'am.
Always you need to explain. If the question comes, you need to explain why there is weight loss, why there is polyuria, polydipsia, and polyphagia. This is the mechanism involved in three symptoms. Right. In addition, they also include blurry vision, headache, fatigue, slow healing of cuts, and itchy skin. And prolonged high blood glucose can cause glucose absorption in the lens of the eye, which leads to changes in its shape, resulting in vision changes. So the person will suffer with the dizziness, and the person suffer with the visual changes, and that is because of absorption, that is because of accumulation of the glucose or increased glucose absorption in the lens of the eye. And a number of skin rashes also occur in diabetes that are collectively known as diabetic dermadromes. That is called as diabetic dermadromes. So we know that the complications are nothing but because of the involvement of the microvascular as well as macrovascular compartment. There is a damage to the microvascular compartment as well as macrovascular compartment. So all forms of diabetes increase the risk of long-term complications. These typically develop after many years. The major long-term complications relate to damage to the blood vessels, small blood vessels, large blood vessels. So diabetes doubles the risk of cardiovascular disease. About 75% of deaths in diabetes are due to coronary artery disease. That is nothing but macrovascular disease. That is because of accumulation of the atherosclerotic plaques. Atherosclerotic plaque in the main blood vessels. So that leads to the stroke, and also that leads to the development of the peripheral vascular disease. And so the main complications by involving the microvascular compartment and macrovascular compartment, the person suffers with the stroke and diabetic retinopathy, and that is the leading cause of blindness in adults, and diabetic nephropathy, leading cause of end stage renal disease, and diabetic neuropathy. Diabetic retinopathy, diabetic nephropathy, and diabetic neuropathy is due to involvement of the microvascular compartment, whereas atherosclerosis and stroke, right, and cardiovascular diseases are because of involvement of the macrovascular compartment. See, this is the normal human artery. In atherosclerosis conditions, what happens because of the increased free fatty acid oxidation, there is accumulation of the more amount of the free fatty acids or more deposition of the more fat uh, in the intima of the blood vessels, in the smooth muscle cells as well as the endothelium. Because of the increased free fatty acid oxidation, there is damage of the basement membrane of the blood vessels, and the macrophages transformed into the foam cells, and there is deposition of the lipids, calcium, and cellular debris, and the fibrous cap formation will be there, that ultimately leads to the inflammation of the blood vessels. And if there is atherosclerotic plaque is more large in size, it occludes the blood vessel. If this is the endothelium lining the vessel, this is the atherosclerotic plaque. Because of the increased free fatty acid production, because of increased increased deposition of the fat, and also deposition of the calcium and lipid plaques, all this leads to the development of the atheromatous plaque in the blood vessels, and that leads to the damage, that leads to the occlusion of the lumen. This is like, and there is damage to the epithelium, Because of there is damage to the epithelium, the platelets and fibrin deposits on plaque, forming a clot. This is the moderate narrowing of the lumen, and this is the thrombus partially occluding the lumen, and this is the thrombus completely occluding lumen. Depending upon the severity of the diabetes, that leads to the occlusion of the lumen, that leads to the stroke of the cardio cerebro, and also leads to the cerebrovascular accident, right? Stroke. The main complication in 75% of the diabetes people are dying with the cause of the stroke. And coming to the microvascular compartment involved, the primary complications of the diabetes due to damage in small blood vessels include damage to the eyes, kidneys, and nerves. Damage to the eyes, known as the diabetic retinopathy, is caused by the damage to the blood vessels in the retina of the eye and can result in gradual vision loss and the blindness. What happens because of the involvement of the microvascular compartment? There is accumulation of the glycated end products, right? Why there is macrovascular injury means because mainly by the three reasons. One is the accumulation of the glycated end products, activation of the protein kinase C, and oxidative products and oxidative stress, and there is damaged endothelium of the blood vessels. All these results in the hemorrhage of the capillaries. Capillary hemorrhages will take place, and also there is accumulation of the exudates and the retina, swelling of the retina, and the retina suffers with the hypoxia. And because of that, there is increased more neovascularization takes place. In order to combat that situation, the blood vessel starts proliferates, that is called as neovascularization of the retina. All these leads to the retinopathy. All these are nothing but the retinopathy changes that ultimately leads to the blindness. And coming to the damage to the kidneys, the same mechanism damages the renal capillaries, right? That leads to the diabetic nephropathy, can lead to tissue scarring, urine protein loss, and eventually chronic kidney disease, sometimes requiring dialysis or kidney transplant. And damage to the nerves of the body, known as the diabetic neuropathy, that is the most common complication of the diabetes. These are the healthy nerves, right? These are the damaged nerves. Occluded vasa nervorum, damaged myelinated nerve fibers, and also there is damage to the unmyelinated nerve fibers, right? That is called as diabetic peripheral neuropathy. Here, this is the normal retina, this is the diabetic retina. See, there is excessive vascular compartment, more blood vessels we can see here. That is nothing but neovascularization of the retina. Where normal blood vessels, there is because of the damage to the basement membrane of the endothelium, right? All because of the accumulation of the oxidative products, activated protein kinase C, there is hemorrhage and there is more exudates, right? And that leads to the microaneurysms, edema, and exudates. And there is leads to the blindness. These are the cotton wool spots. Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. So this is these spots are called as the cotton wool spots. This is the important PG question mark. Cotton wool spots will find in following, right? They will ask. So cotton wool spots is the important in the diabetic retinopathy. Diabetic retinopathy. Neovascularization, microaneurysms, edema, and exudates, and there is cotton wool spots. All these are the clinical features of the diabetic retinopathy. In diabetic nephropathy is also same microvascular compartment. There is damage to the microvascular compartment, and that leads to the protein loss, and there is lead to transplantation of the kidney. See more, this is the healthy. Here protein leaking and more protein is present in the urine. And coming to the neuropathy can cause a tingling sensation, burning sensation, numbness, and decreased sensitivity, and even sharp jabbing pain. That is the diabetic neuropathy. The symptoms can include numbness, tingling, pain, and altered pain sensation, which can lead to damage to the skin. That means the pain sensation, numbness will be present in the diabetic people. So that all lead to the diabetic related food problems. Then they don't know what is the harming, what is the harming. That means even though the pain is going and pricking their food, they don't feel that because of the decreased pain sensation. Then that likely there is a chance of damaging the food. There is development of the ulcers. Diabetes related food problems such as diabetic foot ulcers may occur and can be difficult to treat, occasionally requiring amputation because of the more blood glucose and less blood supply to this. The whatever the ulcers develop, they will have poor wound healing. And additionally, proximal diabetic neuropathy causes painful muscle wasting and weakness. That is called as diabetic myotrophy. Right? That is called as the diabetic myotrophy. This is the diabetic neuropathy. See, there is likely chance of developing gangrene also in diabetic retinopathy. So biochemical indices, then what are the tests for the diabetes mellitus means frequent checking of the blood glucose levels, right? Oral glucose tolerance test, right? And Benedict's test. Already you studied in biochemistry. What are the tests of the end? There is hemoglobin A1C. This is the normal hemoglobin A1C. This is the high hemoglobin A1C. This C, increased attachment of the glucose to the hemoglobin. That is nothing but glycosylated hemoglobin C. Okay, ma? Right? So this is all about the clinical features, the mechanism behind the diabetes mellitus. So what is the management of the diabetes? The balanced diet, low calorie intake, low carbohydrates or complex sugars and starch, low saturated fat intake, high protein diet, fiber rich food, okay, adequate polyunsaturated fatty acids, right? And doing the regular exercise, and also but if the plasma glucose is not getting controlled with the with exercise and diet alone, then there is taking of the hypoglycemic drugs. By using the hypoglycemic drugs like sulfonylurea, there are the so much there is a big classification is there for the hypoglycemic drugs like sulfonylureas, bigonides, and also administration of the insulin. Insulin also there is short acting and long acting are there, right? So all these are the dietary management of the diabetes mellitus. So the first and foremost thing which is present in the, which is efficiently works in the management of diabetes is diet, exercise, and peaceful mind, right? So these three are the important management tools for the diabetes mellitus. Okay, ma? Are you clear, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. This is all about diabetes mellitus. So what are the main three important clinical features that is present in the diabetes?
Diabetic
Starts with
Polyuria, polydipsia, polyphasia.
right, polydipsia and polyphasia. Very good. What are the important complications that is present in the diabetes?
Ketoacidosis.
Atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis, stroke, and
Microsomes.
Diabetic retinopathy.
very good. Diabetic
Nephropathy.
right, diabetic retinopathy and diabetic neuropathy. And what are the two types of coma that is seen in type 1 and type 2? Hyperosmolar coma and diabetic ketoacidosis. Hyperosmolar coma and diabetic ketoacidosis. Diabetic ketoacidosis leads to the coma, that is nothing but accumulation of the ketone bodies in the plasma glucose. When insulin also increases the utilization of the ketone bodies, when there is no insulin, the ketone bodies will accumulate in the plasma, that leads to the ketoacidosis. Right, ma? What is hyperosmolarity means? When there is decreased blood volume, that leads to the extraction of the water from the body cells, right? So that is the hyperosmolar coma. That leads to the hyperosmolar coma. Right, ma? And cells will suffer with the dehydration. Cells will suffer with the dehydration as well as starvation. Okay, that ultimately leads to the hyperosmolar coma. Okay, ma? Are you clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes,
ma.
ma'am.
Right, ma. So practicals also they are discussing in online only. Okay. So yesterday one practical class has completed, right? Motor nervous system
Yes.
examination. Yes, ma?
Yes,
Reflexes,
ma'am.
motor nervous system examination has been completed, right? So what you do, just listen what they said and open your practical books and read first page to the last page and just try to understand how the test all has to be done. Okay, ma? They will explain how the test has to be performed like that. Okay, you learn the test, right? And also how they do and what are the tests for which is present under each heading. Okay, motor nervous system examination and reflexes and sensory nervous system examination. What are the headings and what are the subheadings? Subheadings are nothing but the name of the test, right? How they have to be performed. Okay, ma? Like that, you need to learn. Just learn, open your practical book, just read first page to the last page, understand how the test has to be performed, what are the tests has to do. Okay, ma? Right? Okay, then.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma. Take care,
Thank
ma.
you, ma'am. Bye,
Bye,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Bye,
Thank
ma.
you, ma'am.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, ma.
Ma'am, when is third internal, ma'am?
When third internal, ma? They are given, no? July 24th onwards.
Ma'am, but anatomy revision schedule they gave till 31st, ma'am.
Up to 31st March, but till now they are saying that maybe in the last week of July they are going to conduct a third internals mark. They maybe there is a chance of prepone, okay? But they
Okay,
are
ma'am.
given in circular that from July 24th onwards third internals will be there. Okay, and according to that you read. Okay, for third internal syllabus is uh, uh, entire syllabus is there, no ma? So don't
Yes, ma'am.
forget to revise from first beginning onwards, from the muscle nerves, plasma membrane, blood, from first to last you need to read. Okay, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then
Thank you, ma'am.
okay, then when the finals will be there, any idea?
Don't know, ma'am. For every finals to happen, it should be written only, no, ma'am. For that, all public transport, everything should open up because everybody is in different places.
Right,
And
right.
I am in Hyderabad, so I can't come in anything other than flight or train.
Yes, ma. Yes. Yes.
So depending
Okay, ma.
on
So
what
what?
done on.
Okay. Anyway, by thinking everything, by taking into consideration everything, then they will decide, okay, ma, when the practical exams are when final exams going to conduct. Okay, nothing to worry. Only your responsibility is just read. Okay, ma. Just read whatever the dates they fix, just come and write. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
right? Okay, ma. Take care, ma.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Okay, ma. Take care. If any doubts is there, just please message me. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.